Most people would look at this truck and just see a pile of rust and problems. I look at it and I see a truck that I've wanted to build for years. So I've liked the idea of Overland and Overland vehicles ever since I was first introduced to it. I gravitated toward it naturally, I believe, just because of I'm really big into hunting and fishing and camping. We go on out of state trips a lot. So naturally I gravitated toward that type of a rig, and I always liked the idea of building my own, but there's a few problems. One, it can get very pricey, and then for the money that you're spending, and I still use my vehicle as an everyday driver, trying to take that stuff on and off all the time, to be able to use my truck as an actual truck for work and everything, it can be a pain. So I kind of always shied away from it for that main reason. So I've always liked the idea of just having a dedicated Overland rig. Here we are. I have a project, and we're gonna see if we can turn a 37-year-old vehicle into a reliable adventure rig. So, welcome to the channel. I'm Brad. This is gonna be a channel that's dedicated toward hunting and fishing and camping and anything outdoors. Located in Indiana, but we like to do a lot of out-of-state trips as well. Travel to Idaho, Missouri, and Michigan, and Tennessee, Kentucky, all around. We're just normal guys. Like to do this stuff for fun, and I want to be able to build a truck to get me to those adventures and back reliably, safely, and comfortably. And that's where we are right now. So what we have is a 1989 Jeep Comanche Eliminator pickup truck. And some of you might think, what is a Jeep Comanche? And others might recognize the name and absolutely love the idea. And some of you guys might think there's absolutely no way you can make that into a reliable, comfortable Overland vehicle. But that's exactly what we're gonna try to do. And I got a few reasons why I chose the Jeep Comanche. There's a few reasons why I chose the Comanche over other possible vehicles for an Overland build. So first reason I chose it was for simplicity. There's not a whole lot of bells and whistles that go along with this truck. It's really kind of base and simple and easy to work on. It's it's an automatic transmission. It's got the reliable Jeep 4.0 inline six. Let's see, it's got the manual door locks, manual crank windows. There's not a lot to it, and I think that could be a plus rather than a negative. If there's not a lot of bells and whistles on the truck, then that just leaves fewer things that could possibly go wrong. So that's one of the main reasons why we chose this. Second reason, reliability. It's got the 4-liter inline six. It's got the AW4 transmission. It's just a reliable drivetrain. There's not a lot of power that comes along with with that 4-liter, but there's a pretty good amount of torque for the size of the vehicle. And those 4-liter engines they're beasts. They can take a beating. They can get a lot of miles on them with regular maintenance. It's not uncommon to see them reaching 400,000 miles. You just take care of them, and they'll take care of you. So it's not super powerful. With the horsepower is roughly 190. And you're sitting at about 235 pound-feet of torque with this drivetrain. So I think it's a good place to start. I have a plan in my head. I got an idea of what I want it to look like when we're all said and done. We may do some modifications or do some improvements to try to get some more horsepower out of the engine, but for the most part, for what I'm looking for it to do, that checks the box. Like I don't need to try to LS swap it or try to throw a any kind of turbo or supercharger on it to try to get 400 500 horse. That's not what these engines were designed for. It's not what this truck was designed for. So for what I'm wanting it to do, this is a great drivetrain package. Third reason, right? Something different, right? Jeep made, or AMC, back when these were made, between 1985 and 1992, made 190,000 Comanches. That's it. And a lot of those aren't even on the road anymore. So when you see a lot of these vehicles on the trail, like you see all like the the Forerunners and the Tacomas and some Cherokees and stuff like that. This should stand out a little bit on its own just because there's not a lot of Comanches left, and there's even fewer that are made for the purpose that I want to be made for. So the fourth reason that I chose this is I have a history with these trucks. My dad had one of these trucks for as long as I can remember. He had an 88 Comanche Sport, manual, 4-liter engine. It was awesome. I grew up riding in that truck, and I ended up driving that truck in high school, and it was great. It was a great little truck. I think he regrets selling it, and that's why he turned around and he bought another truck, another Comanche, after the fact. So I do have a history with it. I do have some nostalgia that goes along with these trucks. And then I would say the fifth reason, and probably maybe one of the most important reasons, is because of price. I just mentioned that my dad had one earlier, and then he regrets selling it, ended up buying a truck. Well, that's where this truck comes in. It got parked, and it was sitting in the driveway for a few years, and it got to the point where it was, hey, if you want it, come get it. If not, it's going to the scrap. So here we are. I got it, and for the grand price of $0, I think it's a great entry price to get started on this project. All right, so really quick walkthrough. Here we have the Comanche. All right. Overall, I don't think it's in terrible shape. Yes, it's got some rust. Yes, it's got a few holes in the floorboard where there should be no holes. We're going to take care of all that. And you can see that obviously I've already started kind of ripping out the interior. And then I decided, hey, I probably should document this in case anybody wanted to try to do something similar. The great thing about these is, like I said, they're built from 85 to 92. From roughly here forward, a lot of the parts for the Cherokees of that era will match as well. So that's a plus. But as you can see, engine, transmission, all of that's already been pulled. It's over there on the stand. It's like I said before, it's a Jeep 4-liter, the inline 6. It has an AW4 automatic transmission. The problem is it's a 2-wheel drive, and that's just not going to cut it. So we're going to try to see if we can source some parts to do a 4-wheel drive conversion for this. We'll try to make that upgrade. So as we continue to walk through, there's a lot of stuff on that side, but not a whole lot body wise, other than like the door skins on the bottom of both. I need to try to do some repair to that. The outer rocker panels are pretty much shot, but from here up still feels pretty solid. It's from here down, so I'm going to try to patch that as best as I can without replacing the whole rocker panel. Interior, it's awfully dark in here, but here on both sides is shot. That side is a little bit worse. But as far as the rocker, inner rocker, I can get that replaced. I have some daylight showing through the transmission tunnel, so all that's going to have to be patched. New floor pans. I'm going to keep the interior in this era. Like, I'm not going to do the 97 plus interior swap, which like you see a lot of that stuff on YouTube. I'm not going to worry about doing that. It just feels like it's going to be a bigger headache than what it's worth. As we continue travel, I mean, the bed isn't going to be in terrible shape. It's got some parts, some stuff I'm keeping, some stuff is going to end up getting scrapped. I just trying to clean up the floor a little bit, make room for when I start the project. I got the rear bumper off. It was shot, but it came off fairly easy, so that's promising. Taillights, they're not in terrible shape, but they're starting to separate. So we're probably going to be, unless I can try to fix that somehow, they'll probably be going with the Oracle taillights. I like the wheels. So they're not in terrible shape. Oxidation has set in on some of them. We're going to try to clean them up. The goal is to ultimately just powder coat them. I think it'll go with the overall scheme of the truck with the way I'm envisioning it. But overall, I don't think it's in terrible shape. Yes, I got my work cut out for me, but I have everything kind of mapped out, planned, and how we're going to try to attack this project. But I think we're in pretty good shape to start out. So, all right, so back up here at the workbench. Just wanted to discuss kind of my vision, plan for the build. I got a couple rules that I set for the whole process that I wanted to make sure I continue to follow. But I mean, you saw the walk around, you know the information about the vehicle. We're not building it back to like an OEM like rebuild, but we're also not trying to do this super expensive, Overland Comanche. Not trying to build it. It's not gonna be like a rock crawler going up any insane trails. This is going to be a good adventure rig, right? I want this to be a reliable adventure truck. I want something that I can drive out of state on a hunting or fishing trip. It'll get me there safely. It can be reliable the entire time I'm there, and it'll get me back without any issues, and I can still be comfortable while doing it. That's the ultimate goal. So, wrote down a few rules that I want to make sure I follow for this build. Rule number 1, reliability over flashiness, right? You can get online and you can find all kinds of fancy gadgets and everything for Overland. I'm not just going to throw all of that stuff on this rig just because that's the popular thing to do, or it's a very popular product. It's not the way this is going to be. We're going to make sure that we're going to be making sure that everything that we do to this truck has a purpose, and that it improves the reliability of the rig. Rule number 2. I want to try to keep this. I'm considering it OEM plus, right? Again, we're not going and we're not restoring the vehicle back to factory settings, right? I would like for this to be an improvement upon what it is, but I want it to look nice. I want it to look classy, I guess. I want it to look like where if you looked at it, you could think, was this an available option coming off the line, but from Jeep. Rule number 3 is build once. I don't want to put like, oh, this is good enough, and then throw it on there, and then a little bit later, with the intention of just a little bit later, taking it off and replacing it. That I understand there's gonna be things that I throw on there that I think I want, I go and actually test it and it not work out, that's a very real possibility. That's fine. I'm talking about, oh, well, I just need to get this on here just to get it driving, and then I know I'm going to be replacing it, or I know I'm going to have to fix it in, a few weeks. That's not going to be the case. I want to be able, especially I got it tore down almost to the skeleton. Now is the time to fix everything, get it to where I want it to be, and then put it back in the vehicle. Just doing it once, not having to rip into it, second, third, fourth time. Rule number 4 is I'm documenting everything. Not just, I'm going to try to record as much as possible. It might not be like tutorial style videos, because a lot of this stuff I'm learning on my own, or learning as I go. I've learned other stuff while rebuilding other Jeeps, but this is the first time I've been this in depth into vehicle build, and especially for a Comanche. So I'm going to be learning as I go. I'll document some of that stuff. Probably be a lot of time-lapse videos, or I'll fix it and I'll come back, I'll talk about what I did. But because of the nature of the build and what I want it to do, I want to document everything, so if I have to make a repair later down the road, I can address, almost like a field manual, I can address it by looking in the manual, saying, hey, I put this size of a brake booster on there because we went oversized on the tires. So we need to make sure we source this brake booster and give an exact brake, or exact part number for that part. That's the ideal goal. And then that'll allow whoever wants to, if they follow along and try to do something similar, they have something that they can reference. Or if I ever sell this in the future, which I hope I don't, but if I ever do, then it's something I can hand off to the next owner, and he's got everything that I've done to it, all the parts numbers, everything right there at his fingertips. All right, rule number 5, every modification has its place. Before I put on a part, before I upgrade, before I do anything, I need to ask myself, does this help the truck achieve its intended purpose? Does it get us closer to the ultimate goal that we have pictured in our minds before we started this project? If the answer is yes, then we'll go with it. If the answer is no, then it doesn't have a spot on this truck. All right, so the mission, or my vision, right? I'm picturing an Overland style truck, obviously. Right now, I'm leaning toward like a Gobi tan. Like if we look at some of the newer Jeeps, they have that tan color. I think a lot of different makes are coming out with like a tan color, but I really like the way that Jeep is doing theirs. So I'm thinking, the body tan with black accents throughout, and then yeah, I think that'll look pretty nice. Right now, the interior, it's all gray. We're gonna see. We might try to do some modification of the interior. That might be the only place where we do like any kind of visual modification. Switch it over to black. I think I'll just visually and aesthetically, it'll just look better. I'm looking probably about 4.5 to 5 inch of lift. I want to be able to put on about 33-inch tires. That should be plenty of clearance to get me where I need to go, plenty of grip. I want to be able to have like a recovery style bumper, or just something with like a winch on the front, and a nice sturdy bumper, possibly tire carrier on the back, Overland style rack. Maybe like see if I can manufacture one myself, if I can fab one up. That might be like a bed rack, roof rack combo. We'll see. We'll play around with it, figure out what we can find. What we can't find, we'll have to fabricate. And I'm all right with that. I love fabricating stuff, and I think this will be a fun project. So if that's something that you think that you'll enjoy, follow along with the project. You can always subscribe to the channel. That way you'll know whenever we come out with another video. I'm giving myself a timeline because I've had this truck in my garage with this intent to do this kind of a project for well over a year, and it's pretty much sat untouched. So I'm giving myself 18 months. I'm gonna try to keep this budget where I can keep it budget, but I'm not gonna sacrifice a ton of quality just to save some money. So I want to spend money smartly. So that's the goal. 12 to 18 months roughly. Before then would be great, but all right. So, all right. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys next time.